Welcome back to Worlds. Pyrotechnics here. I'm joined by H2K's Prawley. And I wanted to get your impressions because last year you were on the desk and this year you're here with your team. What do you think of the competition so far in Worlds 2015?
I like how there's a whole lot of really good teams and it's not like super, obvious who's going to win. I like the chance of upsets, H2K versus SKT kind of upset. But other than that, there's just like really high competition this year. So I like that we have to look out for everyone.
Absolutely. I really wanted to get your impression too on who do you think is a team to watch out for, the team that you have your eye on specifically?
Well, EDG dumpstered us really hard. So we have to keep an eye on them, but I think the biggest one still is like revenge on Faker for Ryu. I know we got a little bit in the first game, but we're going for the second time revenge for sure.
Coming back for more, I like to hear it. And of course, do you have any takeaways from the first two days, and of course, what you've had from today as well?
I don't know. It's like the competition isn't as hard as I thought. Like I said again, there's not like super clear-cut winners for every single match. So the fact that we're at least in the same ballpark playing the same game is like kind of a comforting feeling, I guess, that, we're not playing out of our league. We just have to, step up our game and play like basically 5 times better.
We'll have to see if it happens. Once again, that's going to be it for us. Now back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Pyrotechnics. H2K will be happy with that win. We'll see, though, if they can do slightly better the next time around against EDG and SKT after those words from Prawley. But we're going to keep the action rolling with our next game, LPL's LGD versus Korea's KT Rolster. LGD faltered yesterday and fell to the number 3 European seed, Origin. Now, what do they need to do to turn things around today?
Well, first thing, I don't think Origin is they technically are the number 3 seed. I get that, but they're a very, very good team. And LGD aren't a team that are used to playing these best-of-1 formats. And even during the regular season in their best-of-2 formats, they looked horrible at some stages. So, they're just going to look to see if they can get through this group stages, get back towards the best-of-5s where they can learn and adapt in between games, get their hard carries rolling, and then they'll be completely fine. So for right now, the inconsistency with LGD, everyone talks about it. So, it's not anything new.
And we have to go back to that regular season and say, well, LGD was bouncing around 8th, 6th place in the LPL for a lot of the season, and they battle back well in the playoffs in the last couple seasons, but they don't usually start off very strong. So we'll see how it goes. I think they still are a favorite to obviously make it to the quarterfinals, but I expect them to up their game once they hit the bracket.
Yeah, they definitely strike me as a best-of-5 team looking at both of their splits that they played. But also, coming in here, TBQ was rather exposed in Champion Select and in the game. They put him on the Vi. I don't think he's played a game of Vi that we've seen from him yet. So it was definitely a champion that he didn't look as comfortable on.
But once again, this isn't anything new. Teams tried to do this to TBQ, then do you know what happened? Kog'Maw, Diana, Fiora start getting through pick ban phase, and the rest of the team just smashed them. There's no way that you can let them have their priority pick.
And that's something that I thought that they dropped the ball on yesterday as well, because they went for a mono-threat composition with Imp when Godvi is such a great player in the mid lane. Putting him on Lulu, great, it's up, but not putting that on Acorn and then giving some type of carry to Godvi, I thought was a big oversight there.
And I don't think LGD, I think they have to adapt. Don't first pick the Lulu. If you have to ban it on blue side, just go ahead and do it. Try and get something there for TBQ because the rest of the team has broad enough champion pools to fill in adequately.
We saw an element, too, of what you said yesterday, Monty, with the questionable Baron calls out of LGD, feeling pressured to do something in that game to claw their way back into it. But I do want to hop over to KT Rolster now that had a slightly better start to their tournament, beating Team Solo Mid handily. And part of that start was Peekaboo.
Oh, Peekaboo was absolutely on fire. He's been having a great tournament so far, and his multi-man pulverizes in team fights have been setting them up perfectly for success. This one here, 3-man, he is leading the charge, and he's been a huge part of how Peekaboo picked up their season near the end and got them here to this tournament. So Peekaboo, I thought, he brought the shot calling, the things that helped them end the game, which was always a problem for KT.
Yeah, and to springboard off of this Peekaboo point, sure, you can ban the Thresh, but he's a very good Alistar player, too. Normally, he can default to Janna or something like that, and I think it's how many bans are you going to throw at Peekaboo in the draft? I don't really see that as a viable option because you open up too many power picks. The thing about KT, though, that I want to highlight, because we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but I didn't actually come out with the numbers on this. KT's a very first blood reliant team. If they get rolling early, Peekaboo and Score take over. If they don't, they have trouble. And realistically, this team, if they get first blood, they win 73.7% of their games. If they don't get first blood, they win 33.3% of their games. There's a 40% gap. Now, that said, they get first blood in 67.9% of their games. But if you can play aggressively early against KT, they're not very good at playing from behind.
And the best thing about that is that their one, I guess, weakness in lane is their mid laner. They tried to attack it yesterday, TSM, but he's just an absolute brick wall. He doesn't give up anything. And then team fights beautifully. Nagne is just such a rock for them in that mid laner. And then their two side lanes are just beastly when they go up head-to-head into any matchup.
Yeah, I feel like they've been putting a lot of resources into Someday in the mid and early game, and he's definitely been carrying them so far in this tournament. So him alongside Peekaboo in the side lanes, if they're freed up, it definitely causes a lot of problems.
Yeah, Someday definitely had some big plays there on the Darius in that game as well. Well, it's time to test your precognitive powers. So Spawn, starting with you, predictions for this matchup.
I think the LGD game was an outlier. I believe that LGD is still one of the better teams. I'm going with LGD.
That was a reserved prediction, though. That wasn't very confident,
Chinese
if I may say so myself. There was a lot of hesitancy there.
Well, the thing is that I hope it is, but they have snowballed this kind of thing for some weeks. So they don't have weeks to get out of it this time.
You know what? I'm going to agree with you, Spawn. I'm going to pick LGD. And I agree that I think yesterday was a big underperformance. I also think that KT looked far more solid than I expected them to. I don't think these two performances that we've seen, or one performance rather, from each team, are going to be indicative of their run through this group. So I think LGD is going to take it here, especially because they have blue side. They can get that jungler for TBQ, and then they can eliminate some of the weaknesses we saw against Origin.
Oh, man. You're a KT fan, Monty.
I am a KT fan.
So, yeah, I think you win in this prediction because you're either right or you're happy.
Yes.
So no matter what happens.
I've hedged my bets.
But I am going to disagree with you guys here. I'm going to pull for KT on this one. I think Someday is the best top laner at this tournament in competition with Marin, and I think that he's going to have a good time. I think Peekaboo's going to run around the map, and I feel like TBQ was exposed, and I want to see that happen again here in Champion Select. I feel like KT have the edge if the pick and ban goes slightly their favor.
Well, there's more than enough for us to keep our eyes on in this game. It's time to see if LGD can shake off yesterday's loss. So let's step inside Ladok Pullman for picks and bans.
Thank you very much, guys. We're going to get ourselves jumping right into Champion Select. But first, real quick, the starting lineups on your screen. Let's start with the blue side. LGD Gaming, the #1 seed out of the Chinese LPL. Acorn up in the top lane. TBQ in the jungle, hoping to shake off yesterday's game. Godby's still an amazing man in the mid lane. Imp, the big AD carry for this roster. And BYL, the man so many want to play with on support.
And on the red side, it's KT Rolster. Up in the top lane is going to be the MVP someday. Jungle will be Score. Mid lane, Nagne. He had some troubles, so if he bounces back. AD carry is going to be Arrow, and supporting him will be Peekaboo.
And now coming into this pick and ban phase here, we just heard the analysts talk about how can TPQ get a better jungle pick for himself on the Vibe. We know something he's played before, but he really looked off yesterday. The weird thing for me was LGD banned Gangplank on blue side. That allowed Origin to ban both Lee Sin and Rek'Sai and remove them from him. If you just leave that Gangplank away, you force the other team to ban the KT. In this case, they will ban Mordekaiser, to ban Gangplank. You will get at least one of the top 3 junglers in Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, and Elise for TBQ.
As they mentioned on the analyst desk, I think the blue side for them is going to be really important.
That's a hit. It was too one-dimensional. I think still Lulu mid with a carry top laner is a very strong composition. I think that was the mistake maybe from LGD. Malphite at too low damage, and then of course Vi, who fell so far behind.
You know, I think we might. I don't want to jinx it, but we might see
All
another
three open
Mordekaiser
right now.
game with, you know, every single 100% pick ban champion. There's the first one getting dropped off, but there's still the Elise, the Lulu, the Mordekaiser, the Darius.
So I'd ban Mordekaiser here and say, LGD, do you want to play Lulu again? Here's your chance. But if you do that, we take the Elise pick. Lee Sin has been banned away from TPQ. So we want to try once again get a strong jungle matchup. I think Rek'Sai, though, is a fine enough pick and trade that away for Elise. But we just need to see more from LGD with this Lulu pick.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, the thing is, it's not really about you know, getting the stronger jungle pick. It's about denying from TBQ so that you can force him.
They're doing it. They're basically saying, do you want Elise or do you want one of the top tier picks? Lulu Mordekaiser that can go on the other side.
Lulu and Elise are the top.
And they go
Darius.
So,
Not yet.
well,
But those are the four.
LGD can turn the tables because KT can only take 2 of those themselves. So then
Yes,
they at least
2 for
get
2.
it. Exactly, they at
But-
least get it back.
Again, you would then figure that KT would want Mordekaiser and Elise for that absolutely insane early game power, and say, you know what, LGD, you're gonna get the Lulu. Darius late game, his damage is okay, but he's not a massive threat up there. It will still be about Imp's DPS
Yeah,
then.
I'm definitely not a fan of early picking the Darius because you can run the Gnar into it. You can even run the Fiora into it as
And
we've
the
seen.
change, yeah.
I think
so
it's definitely the least valuable of the 4.
Yeah.
they had to change it here. They don't want to give away the Elise. They want it for TBQ. He had problems yesterday. We know it's a big deal for KT Rolster with the Score and Peekaboo together. The early power they put up. We heard all the talks about how strong the early game can be.
The real question is, though, do they pick Mordekaiser if they rely so much on Peekaboo's roaming? Mordekaiser needs a support with him.
He's
not
really that
someone
good
that you
solo.
can leave like that. We always mention the supports and how good the supports are that are able to get off good roaming, but also the AD carries surviving while their supports roam also deserve a point there. So,
And it's worth noting that KT don't even seem to care about these pick and ban trends, these 100% champions, because there's still a couple left open. They're leaving the Darius on the table. They're leaving the Mordekaiser on the table. They don't care.
So here's what KT is doing. Kiting is so effective versus Mordekaiser. Because if he can never get to one-shot that target with his ulti, get the ghost in a team fight, if he can never really stick to a target because he's a slow melee champion, he never gets to do too much in team fights. So what they're doing is saying, you know what?
for LGD, plus they have the, even though Sivir was nerfed and you need to be near her to get the full activation of the speed buff, a lot of pick here with the double skill shots coming from Thresh and Elise.
But it's going to be a weak bottom lane with this Sivir. Can't really punish these Giacomo compositions too much in the laning phase. She gets outskilled already from level 6 and has a hard time trading. But obviously they're looking to try and speed up the game then and not allow KT to sit and scale up towards late game. We've seen so many times in the LCK where KT Rolster get control in the early game in terms of vision, and then they just played a very slow game, you know, allow your carries to scale up and just make sure the other team can never make an aggressive play against you where you don't see what's going on and you can always counter gank it.
So Juggernaut, very obviously the competition here for KT Rolster. We still don't know if that Lulu's going in the mid lane or the top lane.
But this is so smart from them in saying, hey, we leave Mordekaiser open. We will continue to target your jungler. We know that in LGD,
Ladies and gentlemen, we seem to be having some technical difficulties, so the analyst desk is going to jump in here for Champions Select and possibly the game. We'll see. The time is now, gentlemen. Well, so we've seen a lot of this play out. Let's try and play catch-up here. Thoughts so far as we've seen the Mordekaiser fall all the way through Champions Select?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get picked up here. And they also picked a Varus here for the mid lane for Godvi, just to have a poke champion as well. Against the Braum, though, it is a little risky.
First pentakill of the season, LPL, Godvi, Varus. He's a freak on the champion. Do not underestimate it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely still a very good pick for him.
Poke conversation.
Yep. But he's the only poke on that team.
I really like this from KT.
The last pick.
Dude, to get it, they get Malphite into 3 physical DPS.
It's so dangerous to go poke composition against red side.
You can't do this. LGD's massively lost his pick and ban phase.
KT's comp is super good.
I love to play around the Mordekaiser. I absolutely love to play around it.
Yep. All right, and they're told to wait on the game until we can get the stream back up, it looks like. So before the Malphite came in, so was the Varus pick just wrong because it was like going to be a big opening or what?
So the Varus pick came in, obviously as the last rotation here for LGD. They took the Varus. They want to make a bit of a poke composition because they see, obviously, they protect the AD carry comp from the side of KT, meaning the Malphite last pick is going to be so key.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're trying to do poke against the Juggernaut composition, which could be okay, but it's against red side. And KT, with the last pick, get that hard engage so they can try and get right back to the Varus, and they can break that poke comp. Plus, KT extremely smart with their first 2 picks. Although they didn't ban Mordekaiser, you build your first 2 picks against it, then you effectively deny it through the early round picks.
That was such a smart pick and ban phase. Knowing that TPQ had a bad day yesterday. There's been an issue, you know, during the season. He wanted a priority pick for himself, so they went for Elise. Lulu was suddenly open, great against the Mordekaiser itself, so they have now a counter pick in case they want to play Mordekaiser on the side of LGD. And the Braum as well. It works really well in that sense. The team fighting power we're going to see from KT is going to be absolutely insane.
What was strange to me as well, when you look at LGD's pickups there, as soon as you saw Braum Lulu picked up, I was like, oh, they're going for Juggernaut. This is the most obvious tell in the world that Arrow's going to be picking up Kog'Maw. They've got already 2 defensive champions. You saw the hover on Gragas as well, which even further betrayed that they were looking at that champion. And then they decided, wait, we can hold on to this one. And then LGD, they don't get any more hard. Like, they picked up Sivir, which is a bad like lane matchup, but then don't even pick up more hard engage to go alongside it. They didn't find any more ways to dive into this one. And then say, you know what, never mind. Let's go poke after all. Let's go pick up a Varus in the mid lane with no other pokers on the team. And I'm just very confused with the LGD lineup here.
I mean, starting this game for LGD, there's a timer going. Basically, you cannot go late game. Your Varus is going to fall off completely. Your Sivir has no chance versus the scaling of a Juggernaut composition. And you have this Malphite who's going to be stacking armor because you have Hecarim top against him in the 1v1 lane. So you basically have a setup here for LGD where they have to massively win the early game, but your only main engage is the Hecarim flying in with the home guard to start the fight, and then Varus maybe with his ulti trying to lock someone down. And there's so much protection on the side of KT, and good lane matchups as well.
There's a lot of protection, but their late game damage will be lacking. If LGD can start to snowball, they've got a Malphite in the top lane, they've got a Gragas in the jungle, they've got the Lulu for the mid lane. So it's going to be all around Kog'Maw. Obviously, it's going to be all around Kog'Maw, but there is a Hecarim on LGD's side.
Yeah, so real quick, guys, for you guys on stream, we had a power outage in our production truck here, so we stream it down for a second. You guys missed some of the picks and bans. The game itself was unaffected. The picks and bans played out completely normal. We then stopped the game, and we're going to be starting it in a little bit here. So to recap the lineups real quick, because some of the pick and ban was missed, LGD had their first pick, Elise, and they grabbed Sivir. Basically, they've got Hecarim top lane, Elise in the jungle. Mid lane, Varus was picked up late in the draft. Sivir there for the AD carry, and the support was it Thresh? I forgot.
As the
support pickup, yeah. So Varus was last pick on the blue side, but very late on in the draft. So KT Rolster, their very first 2 champions, they had picked up Braum, plus that Lulu, and you were talking about setting up for the counter pick to the Mordekaiser. They grabbed the Kog'Maw, so they've got this Juggernaut comp coming through, a Gragas for the defensive jungler pick, but then the very last pick on the red side was Malphite. Once they saw the Varus mid come through, Malphite top lane for someday. The hard engage, to be fair, is here for both sides of the top lane, but getting into the Kog'Maw seems much more difficult.
Yeah, and much easier for KT to pull off. The instant effect of a teleport Malphite coming in is definitely going to be a big tool for them to get to that early game, to get to the Trinity Force for Kog'Maw so they can start knocking down turrets.
And also LGD's side. Varus mid lane, Sivir AD carry, Hecarim top lane. It's all physical damage coming in. It's heaven for a Malphite. You can stack armor and be nearly unkillable. Gragas is going to do the same with the Syndicate first, then building tank after. So their front line for KT is going to be massive. Add in a Braum shield to block some of the damage coming from 2 AD carries. It is going to be so difficult for LGD unless they show something in the early game where they manage to get a lead over KT.
Red side has been so important on 5-18, and KT really strong draft phase.
Love to see the crowd though.
Yeah, yeah. I've for this year most in particular been actually more of a, like, I always kind of believe that the sides were closer, but really this year we've shown that red side, I think, almost has an edge over blue here, because even though we heard the analysts that say, oh, you know, blue side they can get a jungler for TBQ here, but that's so abusable. You get to pick one champion and give away 2. That's exactly what happened here for KT.
It was so predictable for KT.
Oh yeah.
What was going to happen? So okay, we mentioned very quickly when Champ Select started how, oh, maybe they have to worry about banning Mordekaiser and Gangplank, so they can only remove one of the junglers, not both Lee Sin and Rek'Sai. I said, you know what, we don't care about Mordekaiser. If we leave as much open as possible, especially the Lulu, so we have the counter pick in case they go for Elise.
The zone control from Braum, so much defense there to control the battlefield, make it hard for Mordekaiser to move around. You don't even want to pick it into that.
No, and that's why we didn't see him picked. He's been banned in so many games. Last one was the first one he got through. He won the game, he was first picked, and now he's not even being picked because of these comps.
Yeah, and this game marks now 2 champions falling off the 100% pick ban list. Darius, unseen in this game, the actual aggressive diving champions of Hecarim and Malphite picked instead of him. And also, as we mentioned, Mordekaiser falling off. Compositional counters exist here. We still, of course, see the Gangplank on the ban list, the Elise picked up and the Lulu picked up early on, but the trend's changing a little bit here. Now, as a quick update for you guys, of course, Champions Select did play out off stream. In real time right now, they're going through the picks and bans one more time, locking in champs. That won't be on screen for you, but the game is about to get underway.
And we just get to see the fantastic crowd here in Paris, keeping themselves entertained, making it awesome all the way through. We can see them, and we feel the energy during the games. When big plays happen, they go crazy.
The in-house casters, Chips and Noir, also Sean's and No-No, if you guys remember those guys from the competitive scene, bringing you the cast live on the stream here in Paris, France, and it's been wonderful. They are so amazing at keeping this crowd entertained. It's absolutely wonderful. These guys are some of the best commentators I've ever been around.
So a little update as well, now with the competitions. Nagne on the Lulu is running teleport in the mid lane, but we have the Varus pick for Godfrey just running Ghost and Flash, so we're gonna have a global advantage. And just enjoy this.
All right, the last 25 seconds of picks and bans are counting down. We will have those lineups on your screen in just a short while, and we will get into one of the biggest matchups of the day. It's actually a great day overall of games, but LGD somehow have started out 0-1.
And the name of the game for KT is going to be control. If they can control this early stages of the game, then they're going to be sitting very pretty here. Malphite's got a very clear build path. They can rely on the Lulu Kog'Maw. LGD do have some surprise cards they can pull out, though. You know, Elise Thresh pick, never underestimate.
No, and like the 2v2 in the top lane, when you have a Hecarim running an offensive summoner spell and Elise, that's a strong 2v2 you can use.
All right, well, guys, you at home, please keep involved with the matches. Vote for who you think's going to win this one. Use hashtag LGDWin or hashtag KTWin to vote. Let us know how that one's going to go. LGD so far have been the victim of one upset, and based on pick and ban and based on Zyreen's prediction, it might be a second one here. KT Rolster finally the first world championship for the organization. They started out strong with their win over Team Solo Mid. Now looking good heading into their game against LGD, but this number 3 Korean seed could be making a very deep run in this world championship.
So let's take a look here at how LGD can play the early game, because we talk about how there's a timer on this game. They don't want to go full late game against the Juggernaut composition. It's very difficult for Varus and Sivir versus Malphite and Gragas and Braum when it comes to dealing damage in these fights. But we just quickly highlighted Elise and a Hecarim. That's a strong early 2v2. So LGD, to me, would be happy, honestly, taking a standard lane and try and use TPQ and the early game power he has of this Elise pick.
Upset the lanes early, absolutely.
Yep.
Well, we'll see if that happens. LGD do have more ranged champion in the bot lane. They could maybe get a bit of harass down onto Peekaboo and Arrow.
It's a lane that LGD can push very aggressively in the start and try and deny CS.
Also trying to get a lead on the double AD comp here with the extra poke is exactly what LGD want to do. They want to try and get that lead for Godby, start rotating around because they have so many skill shots to throw out in the siege.
And we can see both teams are still on the bottom side with the dual lane. So LG are looking for those standard lanes. Play around it, start out by getting Acorn going, use his teleport then to take his advantage and move it to the bottom side of the map. You gotta start getting on outer turrets. We're looking like 15 minutes when we have the tier, when we have a brutalizer on the Varus, and of course some levels under his belt for his Q, and then the Sivir with the fast pushing. That's where LGD is really gonna kick in and start creating map pressure. Those 3 outer turrets have to fall in the mid game. Otherwise, KT can stall it too late.
Yeah, basically what LG do, they have Sivir annihilate the creep wave so that it's very clear by the turret for all these skill shots to come through for the Elise and the Thresh to set up poke damage.
They're going to match the 2v2 top after they saw what happened on the map, but they're coming in very, very late. No, not even. They're not going to miss anything, so never mind that one. I even thought KT were doing a camp at level 1, but obviously they were straight in lane. So we get the 2v2. LGD were looking for it. They found it. Can now send Acorn back down to the bottom lane with his own level 2, and of course, Someday will do the same after this double camp.
PYL takes over the ranged minion aggro there first, then Imp is able to auto-attack there without getting the return damage from the ranged minions. Nice little 2v2 micromanagement there from the LGD bot lane, and they actually took control of the lane. Now they're shoving with Sivir despite getting their second.
Yeah, even though Sivir doesn't have the greatest matchup here, it changes with your support. Again, it's always 2-man down in this bottom lane, so having the range support on your side allows you to play really aggressive with pushing in the lane. Say you have the safety of a lantern as well from PYL. So good start for LGD and exactly what they want to get this composition going.
Well, certainly an interesting start as they've given away the blue buff to Malphite to start out his laning phase. So someday they're hoping to get him ahead on Acorn here, and that will be a matchup to watch.
Yeah, it's that race. Anytime you are facing so much physical damage, you want to bundle as much gold as you can into the Malphite so he can start stacking the armor, and he doesn't get behind. TBQ here, though.
We talked
magic
about it.
damage coming in very early. Wants to get Acorn ahead. He's got Ignite.
Knocks somebody into the wall. When is he going to go for the flash? Goes for it there. Last possible second. Gets away, loses health.
Really like the play. Someday saving his flash, waiting for the minion wave to come down and flashing behind them as well. TPQ, of course, was delaying his own snare or stun just to see where is he going. Cannot try and predict it with my own CC, but we mentioned it. The 2v2 of an Elise and a Hecarim is very, very strong, and that's where he went first. Got good early wards, and meanwhile topside is covered from PYL and his own ward, and just constant pushing again and again, pushing into the tower.
Meanwhile, Score's gone back very early. He's got the wards now. He can come down and supplant some extra vision for Someday. While Someday does have the flash disadvantage here, he couldn't get some vision for him. Elise can easily go for lane ganks as well, though, so you still have to be cautious.
And this mid lane matchup with Godby and of course Nagne. Just looking, Nagne, normally the guy looking to farm, not the big playmaker in the mid lane. Strong team fighter for KT though. Doing okay. For the Varus, it's just about getting some levels under your belt, get the first brutalizer, get your tier in, and then start sieging with this lineup. Lulu typically can't do a whole lot of when she's standing so far back and you're just shooting her with arrows.
Keeping my eye on TBQ here. He actually just got the Raptor buff as well. They had a ward in the brush when the ward over the wall from Score was placed. He can go use his Raptor buff to clear it out, but he's just sneaking in for a lane gank. Score, meanwhile, has his eyes set on mid, trying to target this Varus. Can get a summoner spell, at least out of Godby.
Oh, perfect positioning.
Oh!
Wait, flash forward!
Flash by Godby. Yeah, flashes the wrong way, it seems, and there's the first blood picked up. 2 summoner spells down for Godby. First kill in for Nagne.
You cannot afford to make these mistakes when you're running the composition that relies so much on your mid game.
Plus, that was both bump summoners spurn. So not only did he flash into the middle of the lane because of the good positioning from Score getting behind him there, but he blew his ghost and he died in the end anyway. There's still a flash here on Nagne. He can go in, turn you into a cupcake, and Score can repeat.
And just a very easy and simple gank for Score here on the Gragas. There was no vision around the mid lane really to spot him. Walks in, even a safe gank had TPQ been nearby, they would still have gotten so much damage on Godby at first, they would have been okay. And great start for him. He was on really on fire together with Peekaboo yesterday.
Yep. Good stuff, man. Score doing great things for his team. Peekaboo just keeping the lane afloat as much as this push is happening. Very good mechanics by Arrow and Peekaboo, keeping all the CS in that bot lane. They're basically identical.
Yeah, luckily for Godby, you know, he's got his tier on Ver, so now he basically sits under his turret and can CS still all the way up to the middle of the lane, firing off arrows.
It's such a funny
have to play
item
cautiously.
for Varus, because normally, you know, having tier, when you then fully stack it, you get that big spike in damage, and it's awesome. It never really mattered for him too much because he auto-attacks so little when it comes to these fights. Instead, for him, it's just about getting the mana region and getting the armor penetration in. Has always been key. So him falling behind is a big deal, obviously, because he also will stack just the tier itself very slow. He has to upgrade it first, so he gets a bit more from the auto-attack when it comes to getting mana back.
Yeah, plus because his poke comes from the Q, the normal ability, he levels it up much quicker than something like an AP Kog'Maw in the mid lane. Again, can max it out by level 9.
Oh, Someday finds TBQ, jumps down a few spiderlings, stun comes back, and he's gonna run. Oh, good flash.
I like this play, though. You know he's going to flash it, but it's an ulti traded for a summoner spell. Always worth it here from Sunday, just forcing that, even at backup coming, so New could go completely aggressive.
Yeah. And Someday's the guy who got ganked. He lost his flash 4 minutes ago from a gank by TBQ, who has not come back down there. Someday is doing pretty much just fine minion farm-wise, and looks like he's no worse for the wear at all.
Yeah, plus look at the deep boards that they got during that. Score goes in also. So deep boards here from KT. The early Sightstone picked up, whereas Elise, TBQ, went for the Amp Tome, trying to get to his jungle item completion first.
Yeah, going for Runeglaive really wanted to show it's about early mid-game for him. He needs the extra damage. Can even go for more magic penetration with his boots if you want to. We have seen it a few times. Obviously makes you very squishy in these fights, but LGD knows that if they start getting to these late game fights anyway, TBQ will not be much of a tank. He has to get rolling early game with the team. So far, small CS lead in the bottom lane. Same for top. We saw before here Akon was staying in lane and getting some farm, but Arrow is doing his best to keep up.
Well, Imp had the luxury of recalling when he wanted to, so the BF Sword Sivir gonna do fairly well and has some bonus potions as well. We'll see how good the harass ends up being there. Good spell shields.
Yeah, and this is the point you really hate as a Sivir. Once you start hitting level 6, your ulti is not very useful when it comes to trading back and forth, and instead Arrow can just keep firing these long-range ultis in his face, and Sheen as well makes it very good even against a BF Sword target and just comes to the quick trade.
Yeah, the W active auto attack in itself is a very big win there for Kog'Maw, but PYL so threatening right now, not allowing them to move up, and Imp retains control of the minion wave.
The hook on Peekaboo. Problem is Braum is actually very good in a Sivir. His shield actually stops her W from bouncing, and it kills the back half of the Q. So Peekaboo, even though all these hooks come in from PYL, and he's landed a ton of them, Imp is not a champion that can actually do a lot of damage back to the Braum.
He's playing so aggressively, though. Imp continually shoving this wave in, not giving them any time to try and go for trades in the lane. And LGD, they just continue to push up here to retain control.
And that's what they can do for now. It's so hard to pull off a gank for TBQ because we have the double sight, or we have the Sightstone early from Score to get a lot of vision down. So what LGD can do is to say, you know, we're going to wait instead. We don't have to win the game now before 10 minutes. We know we have a big spike in the mid lane with the Varus. Sivir, once she starts really being able to fast push waves with some attack speed under her belt, that's really what they're going to wait for before we see them go super aggressive. For now, just push the lanes, chip down these towers slowly but surely, because then you get them a nice engage.
Arrow stood still, just tanked a hook, and now Peekaboo's gonna come back in, but here's the teleport coming in, a flank as well, and there comes Someday. The two-man knock-up, and actually Arrow's still all right on this one. Acorn's TP didn't mean much, his ulti burned for nothing. Luluwalt gonna try to make it happen, the knockback.
Score!
Oh, man.
LGD though, making that aggressive teleport with Acorn is so risky. You're against double TP on the side of KT.
Yeah, and I wanted to cut in there too because Score had made his way all the way down the lane. So Arrow was baiting right there by standing still under the turret, and they had the trap set.
And that's the thing for LGD. You do not have to pull the trigger pre-10 minutes. Wait for your composition to kick in, then start taking down towers. By slowly chipping down outer turrets, that rotation you can do where you just get 2 or 3 of them and suddenly a massive chunk of gold is going to be very simple to pull off once they start landing some poke that really hurts.
It's really unfortunate for LGD that last auto attack did score the killing blow as well. Kog'Maw needs that kill. Now he's going to get off to a good start. They can have an earlier Trinity Force for him and get to grouping.
Oh, that's a good ult for Godby. Nagne forced to take some aggro, and he's going to be fine. Chuck with 300 health, but not in
It's
that
good
much
though.
danger.
It's good from Godby. Again, he slowly gets to hit this mid lane tower. Build it up for this 15-minute, 16-minute mark, and then we start seeing the domino effect where 3 towers just drop, boom, 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 and suddenly LGD gets the goal lead from it. And that's what they need to then get the map control later on. For now, just continue doing what you're doing on the side of LGD. No fights though.
That big hiccup though down bottom lane.
Might be more important. Like, this matchup is so bad for him.
No! Goes down. Good stun, good everything. Great pickup by KT Rolster. It's getting worse and worse now.
Pays for the constant pushing there. And Peekaboo plus Arrow able to combine and kill him again.
Imp right now with flashbacks to Season 3. Sitting and underperforming with his team, of course.
Yeah.
Dropped out of the group stages. Nobody expected it.
The Lantern used pretty early there as well. Not even picked up, and they couldn't gain the distance.
Yeah, it was dropped for the shield, and then, yeah, Imp grabbed it without even getting any distance. Yeah, just unfortunate there. Acorn in a battle with Someday, but Someday's winning this battle pretty hard. Merc Treads versus a Chain Vest, that's not really close.
No, Acorn is
the
built
rest
to join
of
his
the court.
team, where Someday can just take these trades so effective with all the armor.
Yeah, the slow burn of the Bombing Cinder not to be underestimated. That's
true.
what Malphite does. He wears you down.
And it just seems like it's a metaphor for the rest of the game. LGD as a team are getting worn down. A death to their mid laner, 2 deaths to their AD carry. Kills spread across to some of the best sources possible. Good
check.
Lantern. And of course, interesting for Imp, he wants to spell shield these Kog'Maw ultimates to get some free mana, but that leaves windows where Peekaboo knows there's no way to stop Glacial Fissure or even just a simple Winter's Bite Q.
Once again, though, LGD, they're so far up in the lane. They're drawing so much jungle attention. Score comes down yet again through the lane. They might make another play here if Peekaboo
Imp
is
should know
able to
better.
land.
They should know better.
LGD has just been too eager, really, to pull the trigger in this one, especially that Acorn teleport down to the bottom lane earlier. Like, those are the kind of plays you can't afford to make when you're waiting for specific timings with your champions, because then you simply give KT the opening to start picking up early kills, and it only gets worse when it comes to the scaling we see. Godby can continue to get some good damage on mid tower. That is the key thing, and now we see TPU come in. So again, it was slowly chipped down, and then you can make the play where you're sending 2 or 3 guys and take it, and that's what you need to get the goal lead.
Nicely done right there. They timed the roam actually off of the blue buff being taken by Nagne.
But again, because how bad that misstep down bottom was for LGD, even taking down the turret, they don't have the gold lead.
Maybe they can claw their way back in. It's certainly going to be a hard one, though. Score says, hello, that's going to be my scuttle. Unless Godby can stop that. Nope, not quite. Stun's coming through. Good damage. Score wants it anyway. They knock in TBQ. In comes Braum, and out goes LGD. That's going to be the kill. Wild Growth to secure it all. Godby's going to run. The knockup's going to hit him, but no one else wanted to chase there. Control for KT Rolls.
The early game skirmishing here from KT, just coming out on top over and over again. Plus, the tower gold still standing here. If they can gain this much control just by continually killing LGD, they'll easily be able to take it back.
Look at the little trap here being set up from Someday, waiting for Godby to return to the lane and push it out, realizing though it's going to take a little bit too long and will just walk back to the top side, but he was looking for the opening and the easy dive on the Varus.
Plus, KT, every time they get a kill, look, they have multiple members going deep into LGD jungle. They have wards deep on both sides of the jungle. Every move from TBQ will be seen. Never mind, the ward around Raptors just times out, so they won't see him on the bottom side of the map. But because
3 of
they
his
saw
4 basic camps still have wards on.
they know, because they just killed him, sent him back to base, and they have wards on the other side. There's one place he could be farming.
What we're going to see now, though, is that Varus can continue to just instant push the wave. The thing about Lulu, yeah, her wave clear is fine, but when she little lands through the wave, she doesn't one-shot it.
Nope.
So she needs a bit of extra time to really clear it. Godby has less cooldown for himself, especially once he gets the cooldown reduction boots, and then he can instant push the wave. That applies pressure on the side lanes because he can roam first. And that means they suddenly can keep pushing on the bottom side and slowly again take down this tower. They need it, and then they have to rotate to the top side and get the last outer turret.
Yeah, LGD gonna prep a play down on the bottom side. There are plenty of wards for Acorn to teleport in. He would really like to get that level 11 first.
And that is a good point. Because because Nagne is sitting with teleport, even if Varus can roam first, Nagne can always join in. So we almost have a situation where LGD needs to find a way to blow one of these teleports before they want to go for any of the aggressive plays. You can see Godfrey is constantly moving away from his lane. He pushes out and then he leaves because he knows Nagne and Someday can be in the bottom side in no time, and he has to be close by for 5 versus 5.
This is what it looks like when a Malphite wins lane, by the way.
Yeah.
He just slowly
16
wears you
minutes.
down. He takes the turret, first to level 11.
Uh-oh, it might get more dangerous. Imp loses a lot of health here. Be careful. Stun's going to land onto a minion. TBQ cannot hit the right target. PYL going to be the first casualty. And a beautiful explosive cast means Elise will be next on the table.
And that's only one of the teleports. They can get a turret after this. They can even get Dragon after that.
Wow.
KT Arrows taking control.
LGG is falling apart completely. Too many mistakes in the early game, too many poorly picked fights. Easy gank in the middle and Godfrey coming in.
This is going to be a high armor Malphite. He just now lost the passive shield. 3 turret shots in. Not even difficult. A teleport for Acorn,
Useless
but why?
teleport, even gonna cost him his life.
Useful for KT. They get his ulti. Now he's going to fight Arrow. It's going to be close. Arrow goes down, and finally LGD get a kill, but
Another another turret is gonna go down after that. KT, as we said, they're easily gonna be able to take down these outer turrets. Up, too little life.
KT Rolster is manhandling this game.
Now maybe not that easy.
3,500 gold lead, 8 kills to 1. It's worth pointing out the farm is still staying equal to maybe even a slight LGD advantage. Like, all of the gold lead is just these kills. And LGD still kind of pushing for this dragon as well.
And it did, yeah, okay.
Again, knowing you have double teleport, KT can go for these plays.
Yeah, I mean, Imp just gets destroyed in the trade down bottom, so even if every member is accounted for, KT would still come out on top, so big move from them down bottom, as you know, but it's not even just the gold. Again, as we went over in Champ Select, KT looking really, really good just from the beginning stages. And now they're gonna make another play on Imp. There's no turret this time.
I guess
Some
he thought
backup
he'd get out.
though. TBQ is on the bottom side as well. He got his Elise first pick. That was the entire bait from KT, saying, we know you want that for your jungler. Ends up giving that Juggernaut composition, which would do well against the Mordekaising. So just overall, super smart pick and ban phase.
TBQ has so far collectively 0-9-1 in the World Championship so far. We wondered what it would be like for him, and so far it's been really pretty miserable for the man.
Honestly, I thought people were being a little too harsh on him at first, but
Goodbye.
yeah.
Suddenly everyone's in the
Not
mid lane. Even some days roaming around. Top lane is alone right now. It's going to be pushed in by Acorns, Hecarim, but KT are just taking everything down. Now all 3 outer turrets are gone. Now Imp gets found as well. Can't dodge much of this one. Does do a nice flash over the wall. That's about as long as he could have gotten it.
And right now, we're 19 minutes in. Someday has 256 armor against a physical mid laner. Physical, of course, AD carry. I say, of course, now Mordekaiser could have been the AP1, but and also a physical top laner. This guy is unkillable.
Yeah. Even, like, the only magic damage they have is TBQ, and someday we'll crush him like the spider that he is.
Just pull the legs off one at a time. TBQ did at least go Rune Glaive, so, you know, he's got some extra ability power.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the
one-shot
the
that
good
Malphite.
parts.
I mean, glaring, yeah, definitely the glaring weakness for LGD here is TBQ, whether it's from the in-game play or trying to compensate for him in Champions.
Sure, that's a big deal here. Maybe them feeling forced to first pick that and not go for the Lulu if they wanted it. But we saw Lulu from them yesterday not doing a whole lot either for LGD as a team. So, like, this game, I agree, TBQ is a weakness. But to me, I'm looking at the entire team here.
Yeah.
Because the bottom lane fight and so on was not really anything TBQ could change. Like, that was the team taking a bait, basically, TPing in super aggressive, and then realizing, oh, we can double teleport and just get him punished for it. Give up more early kills.
Yeah, very true.
We just have to look at the entire lineup, and so far, they're not showing up.
No, LGD right now are the biggest disappointment of the tournament. They have
The inverse steak.
Yeah. LGD is vegetarian. Team herbivores, and not all as well here for this team.
Well, KT, they've got a very clear path here to close this out. Watch as their ward line continues to encroach on LGD territory here. They're working it in. LGD are doing their best to try and defend it, but it's just so difficult.
Yeah.
Someday, he just won't stop.
No.
Continuing to wear Acorn down. There's not much Acorn can do except focus on the minion wave.
All 3 lanes just getting pushed in, and it's just a matter of time before KT puts the focus on Baron.
Exactly.
Plays a few pink wards around and says to LGD, either you come face shakers into a fight you're never going to win, or you just let us take the Baron, and then pushing 1-3-1 becomes so much more effective.
Ooh! A couple of flashes traded, but otherwise, all is well. It's just the normal KT style. This looks somewhat similar to how they won up against TSM just a few days ago. It's methodical and smart, and one at a time they knock down objectives. And when KT wins games, there are not many kills. And you can see here, 0.5 kills per minute underneath that, actually. Definitely low.
I really want to see with LGD what the team communication is like, because there's so many small moves in the early game between all the teams. In every single early game we've seen there, small miscommunication can make or break almost your entire early game. If a member is positioned wrong, if he teleported in on the wrong time, or maybe the team were calling for Akon to not join in and he did anyway. We don't know what's going on with the team. We know, of course, there has been some problems in the past because they have Koreans, they have Chinese players.
Yeah.
And it's something we see more and more from these Chinese teams now, that they have these mixed rosters. It looks like there are some miscommunication happening in the early game.
Yeah. Oh, KT Rolster, again, I mentioned par for the course. They're throughout the season in wins, KT Rolster, there's 0.59 kills per minute. We're even below that here. And KT playing such a controlled style. Of all the teams we could measure, they were the least bloody of the teams here at Worlds.
I mean,
but this is KT. This is what they do.
Yeah,
they take control of the map.
Someday is like, there's no way you're taking this guy down.
Nope.
He's got nothing to worry about. There's not a Last Whisper in sight. Well, there is one in sight. I see one right now. Godby's got one, but that's not gonna be enough.
The long-range knockup.
Yeah.
He implodes.
Godby will have his last Whisper, but again, he's never going to sit and auto-attack the Malphite. He can maybe land a Q or 2, and that's about it. Someday, just as an update, is currently sitting on 338 armor now. And I don't think he's going to stop here. Well, what about a Thornmail? Why not?
Yeah, you know what? That sounds fun. Got a cloth armor right now. Even go hardcore for like Deadbands, play it afterwards. Just keep adding pieces to the puzzle.
Funnily enough, I always debate the last item. Uh-oh, here we go.
Godby knocked against the cliff. He's got nowhere to go. Good damage on a Nagne. I mean, they can get some hits across, but the problem is they die too fast because of the Malphite dives. 5-0-1. Nagne, actually a big kill leader here.
And that's, you know, look at how deep this vision is for KT. You step out of line, even this LG side of the jungle is not their own. Here comes the answer of a defensive teleport.
Yeah, TBQ lands a flash stun and says, you know what, let's go for this one. In comes Acorn, and they're like, wait, why do we even do this? Has to ulti away. Someday still chilled in the front lines. And wow, everyone's airborne like they love vitamin C. And down goes the turret, down goes the champions. KT going for the win on this one.
And Someday, you can tell, no fear in his heart. As soon as he gets in there, immediately stop the Hecarim and then move forward. They're not afraid at all, even before he tries to use a Hecarim ult to escape. Someday's already attacking the back line. This is going to be an inhibitor turret. They're inside the base.
Pickaboo's really low. Godby's trying to look. Oh no!
Oh, I shit the wrong way!
He tried to run and let go of Q too late. Not like it matters for too much here. Inhibitor's going to be taken out easily. Oh my gosh, has to flash away, still goes down. This is catastrophic now for LGD.
What a route here from KT.
And we keep seeing these compositions with double teleport. Once they get that lead, the map control is just insane. Whenever LGD is trying to make a flashy play just to come back, double TP happens.
Yep.
Everyone is there suddenly for KT, and it's just so easy for them to turn it around.
It's
Double frozen hard.
snowbally.
You have everything you need on the side of KT. And we're only 25 minutes in.
0-5-0. Godby
Yeah.
in the mid lane on that last pick, Varus.
We see it here. Double TP happens. So like TPQ has to go for something. They need to try and catch out a target if they want to get back in the game.
And look at Someday. Okay, I stopped you. My eyes are for the prize.
Yeah.
Looking for kills now.
I got 350 armor right now. Imp is basically healing me every time he hits me, and massive knock up. Rest of the team can just follow up, clean up. It's also fantastic being the AD carry, and this team just looking at your front line, doing all the work. You just have to be like last hitting a little bit, right click, and get a few more kills.
And this, by the way, we looked at LGD's Kog'Maw game from earlier. It's okay to play a bunch of offensive champions with a Kog'Maw, because you create so much havoc, you get the freedom to hit whatever you want. You don't have to worry about being peeled for. This is like what LGD wanted in their game yesterday.
Yeah, big difference was that what Origin did against LGD was they stacked a lot of late game damage and mixed damage as well. We had a Kalista, and then we had, of course, a lot of magic damage from both Vladimir and Orianna. So there were so many threats to kill this single target main damage dealer. In this case, it's Arrow on the side of KT. LGD did almost the opposite. They're like, okay, so we know you have now a Juggernaut composition. We're gonna try and run some poke and see if we can maybe get some towers early game and get the game rolling. But also the Hecarim pick coming in just meant that it was so easy for KT to stack a bunch of armor against it and say there's no threat now against our front line or our back line.
You can see the value of counterpicking at the very end here for Someday. The Malphite, no threat of a Vladimir coming through after
Look at that
pick of the game.
Get the passive down, that's it.
Even with the static shift hitting, he, did 10% max health. PYL now down to 800. More attacks in, forced to flash whip, and Nagne's gonna whimsy and say, no, I really want this one. Poked around though, here comes the team. Someday to the front line is already, there's the ulti in, locks up 2. And here comes the push, the knock up again on a Godby. So much is happening. The health bar is getting so low, the shutdown actually happens. Whoa, an overcommit from KT, and it does mean the 2 kills come back through.
That is something, but it's just a drop in the bucket here for LGD.
Yeah.
A little bit of quick cash. And even so, it's just a trade even 2 for 2. They still have no control over the map, and it's going to be hard for them to get it back.
Yeah, we knew Malphite was gonna die someday, but looks like it happened right now.
Thought you were against name puns there.
Yeah, I recanted once I realized that there's way too many of them available. Either way, though, I mean, this is rough. 17-3 in kills. KT Rolster have knocked the inhibitor down, but this inhib's going to respawn soon-ish, and Imp's getting a ton of farm back. But an 11,000 gold lead is still what has to be made up for.
And now we talked about the pick and ban phase just before here. I think today we have seen how teams, by not just banning the 3 top tier picks in Mordekaiser, Lulu, and Gangplank, are starting to really make Red Side look a lot stronger. Because if on day 1, Blue Side was 6-0.
The manipulation from Red Side.
Exactly. There's so many small mind games you make, being like, oh, so here's this Elise pick you really want, but there's also these 2 top tier picks. If you pick one of them, we're gonna have something ready for it. So we're starting to see teams now not be afraid of leaving the top tier picks open, like on day 1 where it was always like Elise first pick and then you had a disadvantage from there.
That's fair enough. It does not account for the later stages of the draft phase from LGD,
That is very true. Definitely been some mistakes as well.
So yeah, we don't attribute this whole setup to side selection.
No, but
Baron gonna go down pretty easily though.
LGD have had 2 very bad champion selects in a row now, so that is something that definitely needs to be shored up. Acorn, I know, is one of the voices in that one. In fact, for a time, he was the actual coach of the team and literally just like led all those phases, but right now he is not having a positive impact with this.
Obviously lost their coach, but he was only the coach for like 2 weeks. For LGD, like in playoffs, and POL even went out and said it was the analyst who was doing most of their work anyhow, so they didn't really care about losing the coach too much coming into the World Championship. He's obviously now the analyst, or former analyst, is now the head coach of the team. Seen some problems though for them when it comes to draft and composition.
Yeah, they got, with all the changes, I mean, the thing is, they actually played games. No, they didn't play in 5-16, because they didn't play in the regional. And here we go, into the base. The second inhibitor, the top inhibitor, being laid bare. KT slowly gonna work this one down. TBQ can only throw a cocoon. There's the flash engage. They caught him. He's gonna flash out himself, but Someday's gonna return on this one. Chain of Corruption comes across, but already 2 kills, now 3 kills picked up. Acorn jumps in, tries to pick up a little bit of something. Score will go down, but only the 1 kill. There's the A's. KT Rolster should be closing it out now. It only took him 31 minutes. KT 2-0 to start out their World Championship.
Dominating victory as well for them.
The champ selects, we had a lot of questions
Yeah.
with what LGD were drafting, how little time they really had to win this game and how specifically they had to play it. And just too many mistakes from the start that allowed LGD to...
I mean, plus the in-game play there, we had the Varus die, pop both of the summoners very early,
Flashed the
really
wrong
far
way.
really far up in the lane against a Gragas. Meanwhile, the bottom play, goes without mentioning, how badly that turned around for them.
Unfortunate things here for LGD. But KT Rolster, of course, they have a very well-deserved bow here.
It opens up this group that people were referring to as the group of death so wide, because even when everyone was mentioning group of death, the most probable to be on the top for everyone was still LGD.
Yeah.
And they started out 0-2.
Yeah, I mean, LGD was the obvious #1. You can see Imp not happy with how the game exactly went. But LGD was the obvious #1, and it was, okay, it's probably KT Rolster versus Origin fighting for #2. Well, now it's probably KT Rolster and Origin fighting for #1.
For now, at least.
And, of course, we will see TSM face Origin that very next game. And the thing is, TSM made that KT game a lot closer than LGD did. As far as looking at single games and power ranking off that, TSM looked better than that.
Yeah, they had their own set of problems.
Of course.
Two teams with a lot of problems. Team Tournament and LGD. Really for LGD here, you're down 0-2 now. You play Team Tournament tomorrow. That's a must-win game if you want to have a chance to get out of this group. So if there's so many problems with the team, we don't know if it is communication or what it is. They have 1 day now to fix it, because this is not acceptable in any way possible from everything they were doing basically in-game. Too many mistakes. KT take full advantage, full credit to them. What a fantastic performance. And they sit as #1 in this group for now, and it's well-deserved.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they can fix these things in about 24 hours. But for now, going to hand it off to our analyst to break down that KT commanding win.
Thank you very much, Free. Commanding, to say the least here. And there's a lot to discuss. First and foremost is KT coming out of Champ Select with the composition that mirrored LGD's composition from yesterday, barring the Gragas for the Vi. Thoughts on that, getting beaten by the comp that you came into the day before with?
Well, different story, right? When they take the Varus, they open themselves up to a big Malphite pick there. And what I don't like about LGD, and what I haven't liked about kind of the LPL in general, is that the Hecarim is still picked. I think Hecarim is too item dependent, doesn't have a lot of upside. If you shut him down, then there's nothing that can be done. There's no comeback potential, and that made it very, very difficult here. They had to blind pick something. I don't think Hecarim's the answer.
Yeah, I feel like their coach, Firefox, was just failing to load plugins in Champions Select because, oh my God, you pick Varus into Braum, already not a good situation, but you open yourself up for 3 physical damage threats. Great, LGD's running more threats, but they are all the same type of damage, and it's against a Malphite that gets picked up late. I feel like this was a great draft from KT and a very, very bad draft from LGD.
Look, they didn't do themselves any favor with the draft. Like, I'm not going to defend it in any way, but if you give up Juggermore, you need to play fast push. Varus, very good fast push. Siva, very good fast push. They needed to go with something to be able to finish this game by 27 minutes. If the game wasn't over before 30 minutes for LGD, the game was just never going to go in their favor. So I guess I get the emphasis on the draft, but the game was played on Summoner's Rift, and that's where they lost it.
Okay.
Well, then let's go to Summoner's Rift then, and let's talk about the way it was played out.
But the game was, they had a 2v2 against Kog'Maw Braum, which is an extraordinarily strong combination. So they're already putting themselves at a point. And Imp did get a nice CS lead early, which was surprising to me. But just having that, it's too hard for you to actually take the turrets in group in that situation. I don't think that was the answer. And it certainly showed too. And I mean, Acorn has been so off in these games. He's normally fantastic, but what horrendous teleport play.
Yeah, and even just the laning phase. They set up Someday once again. They gave him blue buff. They made sure he didn't take too much damage at the start, so he got to keep his TP. So that means that on the opposite side of the map, there is still pressure on Imp in the top lane, even though they've lane swapped it. There's always that chance that they're going to shut him down.
All right, so Zyrian, I want to work through the early game, though, and the way that KT played it out, because we actually saw them swap away from LGD, but then not too much later found themselves locked in that 2v2.
Yeah, I feel like what KT ended up doing is they played to shut down the strengths of LGD, and they did that perfectly, and I feel this is something that you should do against LGD is take double TP. It stops Imp from pushing forward at all. And this is a guy that I talked about before. He loves to go forward and assert his dominance in lane, and this is exactly what happens. Same position. It almost looks like we're watching the same replay twice, because he's always forward. He's always trying to exert pressure. And you were talking about the fast push. They punished it in the bot lane because they weren't grouping to fast push with a Varus. They were trying to do it during the laning phase, and they were immediately punished. Great collapses here. You see wards coming down just for these plays, too. Guaranteed 4-on-5s in some of them.
Well, even in that first clip, the bait, Arrow just stood still, baited out the hook, and then we saw the teleport come in for Acorn under the turret. They didn't know where Score was. Score was sitting there waiting for them to come in. They baited it absolutely beautifully. That was entirely set up by KT. That's why Arrow didn't move there, because there was already the preparation. Everybody just piles in. You know LGD, in 2 games now, they've tried to make it an aggressive teleport in the bottom lane, and it hasn't worked versus Origin. It hasn't worked versus KT. And maybe this is, again, a mixed language issue, because it doesn't look like they're communicating where people are on the map.
So I don't know if you can chalk it up to miscommunication, because during the regular season, you have to remember this is a team that brought double teleport into the meta with Diana. So, let's not give them any excuses. They're just playing not good League of Legends right now, and they need to fix it. So, their side wave control generally is very good. So I like the double teleport against this team.
What I think
that LGD need to go back to playing their brand of League of Legends, because they created this meta.
Yes, I think the double TP just shuts them down so hard. And even on the double TP fact in a micro sense, what ended up happening before the TP to the bot was Godv had a skirmish against Nagne, and they were like, okay, we're both half HP, gentleman's agreement, we're both backing. But one of them has TP, so it's guaranteed 4v5 bot lane and the best possible scenario. So they're even prepping that from champion select with the double TP that they want to do this strategy. And KT is just very present here at this tournament, while LGD is kind of floundering.
Yeah, and KT has really surprised me, because I didn't expect them to come in with this amount of poise, right? They're not taking risks. They're playing mind games in Champ Select. They're playing mind games on the Rift to set up these plays. And against TSM, against LGD, they've done the same thing. They wait very, very patiently, play conservatively, bait out a mistake, and then smash you. And once they get that early lead, they're great at snowballing it.
Yeah, absolutely impressive play from KT stepping up here. LGD now dropping 2. This does beg the question, what does this mean for the group, right? And LGD's future in this group, because it kind of blows it wide open all of a sudden. A lot of us came in here assuming LGD was going to be one of the favorites in the group, maybe along with KT, and that loss for LGD presents an exciting opportunity for the 2 Western teams in Group D. Now, earlier we asked you, who is your dark horse in the group stage, and it's T-Dog, right? It's definitely Origin, after pulling out that victory against LGD, can see them making a run to get out of the group. Well, they're about to go up against TSM. So what do you guys think? Is this their opening here, or will TSM get their first win and make things even more interesting?
I'm going to have to start this off and go with Origen here. I love that pronunciation of it. Origen is the ones. They didn't press me yesterday, but it was against LGD, and we still don't know the gauge on LGD right now. They seem to be floundering this tournament, so that is kind of like a benchmark, not a very good one. So right now, I'm just going with Origin, because I feel like TSM, they have not been present in this tournament as well.
Well, I have to go with Origin, with Xpeke's performance, with him really stepping up in that first game. It looks like perhaps the mismatch in the mid lane may not be there if Xpeke is going to play at this level. So, but everywhere else on the map, absolutely everywhere, there are problems. I mean, we look at Santorin, regular season, 9.05 KDA, but only 178.1 damage per minute. That put him 12th.
Dead last.
Remember, there were 10 junglers. 12th in damage per minute.
How is that possible? He got beat by subs.
Right. And against KT, he didn't even have the KDA. He had a 0.67 KDA and 130.4 DPM. Amazing is going to wreck him. Like, this is, Santorin needs to do something. Anything. Damage, whatever. And I think that's a big mismatch, so.
Yep.
I completely agree. The Cacao game is like how Santorin sets up to play League of Legends, unfortunately, at the moment. I think Origin across the board are actually a really strong team. I actually really enjoy watching these guys play League of Legends, but they have to draft to their strengths, which is pick some form of initiation on Amazing, because they don't normally give it to Soaz. He likes to play more of a damage threat. So if they have an initiation on their jungle and support, I think that this team can go very far.
Well, there you have it. We've got that match coming up in just a few minutes, so keep it right here. The 2015 World Championship continues after this.
LGD so far been the victim of one upset. It might be a second one here. They knock in TBQ. In comes Braum, and out goes LGD. That's going to be the kill.
Cost him his life.
Useful for KT. They get his ulti. Now he's going to fight Arrow. It's going to be close. Arrow! Has to ulti away. Someday still chilled in the front lines. And wow! Everyone's airborne like they love vitamin C. The chain of corruption comes across, but already 2 kills. Now 3 kills picked up. Acorn jumps in. Tries to pick up a little bit of something. Score will go down. KT 2-0 to start out their World Championship.